Friday morning and welcome back. Sadly, for many Americans, stress has become a part of everyday life, and the devastation in the Gulf Coast has created a lot of stress for many, many people. And Dr. Kathleen Hall is the author of Alter Your Life, Overbooked, Overworked, Overwhelmed. She's also the founder of the Stress Institute, and she is with us this morning. And you have all sorts of good advice, I know, because this is a stressed nation. I mean, aside from Katrina, how did we get here?
Well, for an example, right after Katrina, I think it was this week, I got a call from an editor from a newspaper in LA. She was doing the interview and she was talking about how stressed everybody was from Katrina,
Right.
And they had just gotten the Osama bin Laden letter, you know, on Sunday, and then LA blacked out. And literally blacked out when I was on the phone with her. And so she called me back and she said, what are we going to do about stress in America? Here's the deal. We know that 90% of all visits to physicians now are directly stress related. Okay, and it is the seed for most chronic diseases now, so we have to get a handle on it. What we know about stress is that people feel victimized, Justin. They feel overbooked, overworked, overwhelmed. Two things I constantly hear people saying is, my clients, is I'm exhausted and I just don't have enough time.
So what is the physiological effect of feeling sort of overwhelmed or overworked?
Every thought, every emotion, every feeling that you have is connected with a neurochemical being released.
Okay.
So if you think, very victimized, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this, you're going to be producing something called adrenaline, and when you really get stressed, it's cortisol. Now, these are drivers for the body. They're wonderful when you're not stressed. They keep our systems
But eventually
moving.
we come down,
But eventually,
right?
what they do is you get on a hyper state, okay? So it leads to things, and can lead to things like cancer, heart disease, obesity. I firmly believe obesity is directly related to stress. So what we have to do, though, is stop the victim mentality, stop feeling helpless.
Right.
The world's just going to get more stressful, and say, you know what, I can be a hero of this. So you have to take charge of your own life. And there are amazing things you can do to stop the stress response immediately and create the relaxation response.
People want specifics, because I guarantee you our viewers are stressed out, whether it's your toddlers in your house, your boss is coming down. Give us some basic steps.
Great. I call it self-care, S-E-L-F. First is serenity. Every day of your life, about every hour or two, stop and do, there are a few easy things you can do. One is your breath. We breathe in 6 quarts of air every minute, okay? In and out. So the first thing is breathe. We know that breathing lowers your heart rate, it decreases your blood pressure, just really relaxes. You do something like that. Something number 2 is a mini. Memorize a 3 to 5 word saying and say it over and over again, like all is well, be still and know I am God. Breathe in and out, say it over for about a minute. It reduces your heart rate, reduces your blood pressure, and increases the serotonin and endorphins in your body. You can pray and do meditation. We have great science on it. We've got great studies that show it works. We have great studies that show on guided imagery works. Sit there about every hour or two and go, you know what? I'm going to close my eyes and think I'm on a vacation island or where I was as a child or at a lake. That lowers your heart rate. Very simple things.
What about looking at your life and saying, these 2 things must change, and therefore I can get back on track to being healthy? Do we need to sort of look at our own life report card? Very good.
I suggest you just exactly get a piece of paper, put a line down the middle, put what feeds me, what gives me passion on one side, and the other side is what stresses me out. And look at your life over a week, write them down, and then decide. I call it ACE your life, ACE. First is awareness. Become aware of what is irritating you and taking your life away, and what gives you life. Second is choice. Make a choice on, I'm going to change this. In E is you will get more energy than you ever realized you could have.
Just sort of, does that energy, is it psychological, coming from control, or is it because you've literally changed your physiological
Both,
day?
but you're right. Once a person feels that they're in control and they are being proactive in their life instead of reactive, like every time we get a letter from the terrorists, this is ridiculous. We have got to realize that we are heroes, and the way that we think about our life is the way our body will react towards it.
We see the ads now from prescription drug companies, sleep aids, things to wake us up, but all these Lunesta and all these things, where do sleep deprivation and stress meet?
Absolutely, they meet hand in hand.
Okay.
And that's why when you do stress reduction techniques and stress reduction practices, please remember it's not a luxury anymore. In the world we live in, and insomnia and obesity are some of the #1 problems in the world. If you go ahead and prophylactically memorize some stress reduction techniques, it will serve you well for the rest of your life. And please realize your children are going to react to stress like you do.
Do they sort of mirror parents?
They mirror parents. So it's very important for parents to say, I've got to learn some stress reduction techniques and teach this to my children and pass it on.
Dr. Hall, I can remember my mother sometimes when I was a little kid would come in the house, she'd say, kids, I need 15 minutes. I'm going to close my door.
Good.
And then I'll come back and be your mommy.
Very good.
And so she would take that
See?
15-minute break. And is that something that you would advise for parents?
Absolutely. Go in and close your door. And what you're doing is people can say, I'm leaving my children for 5 minutes. What am I teaching them? You're teaching them self-care. You're teaching them that when they feel stressed out, to become aware they're stressed and go, you know what, I need a minute or two by myself. Before you come on the show in the morning, go in, take a few deep breaths, say whatever calms you down, come in, and you will be full and strong and rooted in yourself.
I don't know if I can afford your hourly rate, but I'm going to, I could use about a 3-hour session with you. Dr. Hall, thank you.
Thank you so much.